Okay, you're good.
Okay, so our topic is on television and teen pregnancy. My name's Evelyn Guzman.
And I'm Judith Quintero.
Okay, so ever since television became popular, it's always been debated whether it serves as an influence to do certain things. It is believed that television poses as a muse as to what we should all be doing. So does television actually have an impact on teens, and could it possibly increase pregnancy rates in teens?
So first, I thought we'd start by sharing what the author's view of sexual content was and how they defined it. So according to Kaiser Family Foundation report, sexual content can be depicted or implied in several ways. The first way is through behavior, and that can include flirting, kissing, oral sex, and sexual intercourse. The second way is through verbal discussions, and it can include conversations about sex, virginity, love, etc.
So how much sexual content is on television? So sexual encounters shown on TV are much more frequent today than they were many years back. So looking at percentages from 1998, they were around 56%. And in 2002, it was recorded that it went up to 64%. And then 68% included talking about sex, while in 1998, it was only 54%. 35% included talking about sexual behaviors versus 28% in 1998, and 11% included scenes in which sexual intercourse is either depicted or strongly implied, which is a big difference from 7% in 1998. This shows that an average of like 10% is changing just in a few years from 1998 to 2002. And since they were way back then, these percentages are way higher today. So the Kaiser Foundation reports that 20 of the most popular shows for teens, only 10% of those with sexual content include information about risks. So it's showing people having sex, but never really talking about the consequences of it. So most sexually active teens wish that they had waited longer to have sex, which suggests that sex is occurring before they're even ready for its consequences, before they're actually educated on it. This shows that TV may create the illusion that sex is more central to daily life than it actually is, and promote sexual initiation, which is also a process known as media cultivation. So media cultivation is defined as exposure to media over time that cultivates the viewer's perception of reality, meaning that the viewers of these shows believe that lives portrayed on TV is how their lives are supposed to be. So unplanned pregnancies and STDs are more common among those who begin sexual activity earlier, possibly because they're not really educated on every single subject. And 83% of parents believe that sex on television contributes to early sexual behaviors, and a large number of teens agree with this percentage. So the social learning theory predicts that teens who see characters having casual sex without experiencing negative consequences will be more likely to imitate what they're seeing. So the social learning theory says that information is learned from what others say about a behavior as well as what they do, because both indicate approval or disapproval of something. So the topic of abstinence or the need for sexual safety only occurs in 15% of the shows with sexual content. So abstinence or even birth control, those type of subjects aren't really talked about. And sexual content appears in 64% of all TV programs, which is more than half. And these programs that are showing sexual content average around 4.4 scenes with sexually related material per hour.
So now we're going to be introducing the research articles. We will be discussing the distinct sides of the research presented by Rebecca Collins and colleagues of the RAND Corporation. Collins and her colleagues first conducted a longitudinal study to examine the relationship between adolescent sexual content viewing on television and likelihood of engaging in sexual activity. The second article, written by the same group, conducted a study to investigate if sex on television can positively influence adolescents. And then I have a video that kind of gives background to what a longitudinal study is.
Longitudinal studies help to paint a clearer picture of society by helping us understand how life is changing. They observe the same groups of people repeatedly over a period of time. Birth cohort studies follow groups of people born at a particular time. Every few years, researchers contact these people to ask them questions about their lives. In household panel studies, whole households are surveyed, including parents and their children. Study members are interviewed every few years to show how life is changing in homes across Britain. When designing a study, researchers might be interested in the population as a whole, or they might select a group of people based on factors such as their age or health. Data can be collected from study members face-to-face, on the phone, by post, or online. Many also take part in health and cognitive assessments. Information from the studies helps to improve people's lives by informing government policy in areas such as health, education, and employment.
Oops. So next we'll be moving on to the Yes article. So the researchers designed a longitudinal study to test the effects of sexual content on television on adolescent sexual activity initiation. So they wanted to see if sexual content on television caused teens to initiate sexual activity faster. The researchers selected 1,762 adolescents to participate in a telephone survey. The same group of participants were contacted to complete another survey the following year. So this is what makes the study longitudinal. The survey attempted to measure the exposure to sexual content on television, average hours of television viewing, sexual behavior, and covariates. The researchers hypothesized that adolescents exposed to greater amounts of sexual content on television would initiate sexual intercourse sooner and would progress at a more rapid rate to higher levels of non-coital activities. Before controlling for other variables, viewing large amount of sexual content on television at baseline was strongly related to the initiation of intercourse and non-coital progression the following year. According to Collins and her colleagues, the likelihood of intercourse initiation was approximately double for the high exposure group across all ages. It is important to note that the association between viewing sexual content and intercourse initiation appeared to be stronger before the introduction of covariates to the model. So covariates are like things like race, parents' education level, what number of members in the household, things like that. So some of the limitations to the study were the inability to control for sexual interest and sexual readiness before the television viewing. Some participants were not initially honest about their sexual experience and were low at baseline. And other contributions to sexual advancement were not measured. So next we're going to be talking about how television has possibly been glamorizing teen pregnancy. So the topic of teen pregnancy has been widely discussed after the airing of television shows such as 16 and Pregnant and Unexpected. These television shows follow the journeys of teen moms navigating the challenges of becoming a parent at such a young age. So we read a study that was conducted by Jennifer Stevens Aubrey and her colleagues, and it examined the effects of short-term exposure to the television show 16 and Pregnant, and the adolescents' attitudes, beliefs, and behavior intentions regarding pregnancy. After the data was analyzed, Aubrey and her colleagues concluded that compared with adolescent girls who watched MTV's Made, those who viewed 16 and Pregnant were less likely to perceive themselves at risk for pregnancy and more likely to believe that the benefits of teen pregnancies outweigh the risk.
So we're going to show a video about how shows like 16 and Pregnant are actually glamorizing teen pregnancy rather than showing the consequences of it. This news channel actually has a psychologist come on and talk about like her own personal experience with it.
It turn on the TV and you pick up a magazine, there's a good chance you're going to see a story about a teen mom. But are they helping to prevent teen pregnancy or just glamorizing the issue? Take a look at MTV's hit reality show, Teen Mom.
This winter, MTV takes you back inside the lives of Macy.
This is my favorite. I love it. I think Brian would like it. I don't care.
Amber.
I don't feel like a teenager no more, especially having this baby.
Caitlin.
What's the symbolism with the tattoos?
For our daughter, who gave her for adoption.
And Farah.
Okay, so by looking at me, would you have thought that I've had a kid?
Well, now MTV is looking for more pregnant teens through an open casting call, saying they'll show morning sickness to mood swings, and they'll ask teens to let the network document this exciting and life-changing event. We've got a statement from MTV saying both of those shows have been called the best public service announcements for preventing teen pregnancy because of the gritty, unvarnished look they provide at the reality of teen pregnancy. But do they show the tough reality? The chance to become a star of an MTV hit show could be tempting. Is it tempting enough for a teen to actually get pregnant to be on the show? That's my guess. Let's go first to Cheryl Arrett. She's a psychologist and the senior editor of Us Weekly, Ian Drew. Ian, are reality shows so popular teens may be tempted to actually get pregnant to be on them?
Well, I'm not so sure I would go that far and say that they were like getting pregnant just to get on these shows. But there is a drive between young kids, especially in the MTV demographic, to get famous at all costs. I mean, they're definitely driven by fame. They definitely are the YouTube generation. They're putting videos of themselves out there all the time.
But Ian, I mean, you're looking at these, you can't be on these shows unless you're pregnant. And this is not... I mean, you know, TLC might not be the coolest network for a kid. MTV is the end-all, be-all. So, I mean, you know, if they're having open casting calls, it's kind of like, well, if I get pregnant, maybe I can be a star at MTV.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a little hard to imagine that kids are going to go through this with their parents and everything. There surely will be some that want to be on a show that badly, but that's a little bit of a stretch. But I do think a lot of people, once they're in this situation, are driven very much to get on these shows and get as much attention as they can.
Well, despite the best efforts of pregnancy prevention programs, it almost seems cool to be a teen mom. One-time Nickelodeon star and Britney's little sister, Jamie Lynn Spears, became a teen mom. And Bristol Palin, another famous teen, just made it to the final 3 of Dancing with the Stars. Cheryl, Teen Mom is a huge hit for MTV. Are famous teen moms like Jamie Lynn and Bristol inadvertently glamorizing being a teen mom?
They are glamorizing being a teen mom, and I think there are teenage girls out there who are going to think that if they get pregnant, it will somehow turn them into a Kardashian. A teenage brain is like a Ferrari. It is fast, sleek, corners really well, but the brakes, not so good. We're actually, research is showing that teenage brains are functionally different than adult brains, and that our brains don't really mature until we're in our mid to late 20s. So the part of the brain that comes online last is the part that does things like planning ahead, strategizing, seeing consequences for things. And that's something that's not fully mature until a woman is about 24, and a man, I think, about 27.
But, I mean, you can say that this show shows all sides of being a teen mom. So in that respect, Cheryl, it does show, you know, if a teenager's brain can't process the future, this show could show them the future. Let's go to Lynn in Florida right now. Lynn, what are your thoughts about MTV's Teen Mom and it glamorizing teenage pregnancy?
I think it's doing truly a disservice to everyone. I was, 40 years ago, I was a 16-year-old pregnant girl, and I had a child at 17, and it's a very, very difficult thing. And people don't stop, and you don't stop at that time to realize what a life-altering event this is, not only to yourself, but to another human being, and that this does have a lot of implications that go along with it.
But Linda, if you see this show, and there's two sides to every story, if you see this show, Lynn, could you see what really goes into being a teen mom and say, ooh, I don't want any part of that?
Actually, I think there's 3 sides to every story: mine, theirs, and then the truth, which is really the true reality. And the fact is that you have to always put someone else before every one of your thoughts. The fact that you think that you might be able to get famous is nothing. That's, you have to realize the consequences that you have not only on yourself, but that you always have to put another person first, no matter what. And I don't think most teenagers are ready to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Lynn, is it your son or daughter?
I have a daughter.
Okay, and what's she doing now?
Actually, have been a very fortunate person in my life, and she's very successful and is an administrator. But it's also the exception, the rule.
All right.
Most teenage girls end up on welfare. Mm-hmm. Please let that be known.
Okay, so now getting to the no article. So according to Rebecca, 60% of teens participating in a recent survey said that they learned something on how to say no to a sexual situation by watching television. And 43% said that they learned something from television about how to talk to a partner about safer sex. So the article by Rebecca Collins and her colleagues argues that television may act as a way for parents to have a conversation on topics they find difficult to talk about with one another. So 33% of 15 to 17-year-olds report that they have had a conversation about a sexual issue with one of their parents because of something that they saw on television. So we've all heard the talk about the birds and the bees and how awkward it is for parents to have that conversation with their teens. So Rebecca argues the television is serving as a gateway to talk about this without making it so awkward. Because being honest, this topic is just as awkward for parents as it is for the teenagers that are listening. So a lot of Rebecca's no article focuses on this specific episode of Friends that's titled the one where Rachel tells Ross. So we're going to show the episode just so you guys are familiar with what we're talking about.
I'm pregnant. Ross. Ross. Okay, whenever you're ready. And you're the father, by the way, but you got it. Can I get you some water?
I'm good. I'm good.
Ross, there is no pressure on you, okay? I mean, you can be as involved as you want.
Yeah, I'm just, I don't know. I don't understand. How this happened. We used a condom.
I know, but, you know, condoms only work like 97% of the time.
What? What? Well, they should put that on the box!
They do!
No, they don't! Well, they should put it in huge block letters!
Okay, Russ, come on, let's just forget about the condom.
Oh, well, I may as well have.
Listen, you know what? I was really freaked out, too, when I found out.
No, I'm not freaked out. I'm indignant as a consumer.
You know what? Let's talk later.
No, I want to talk now, okay? In fact, I want to talk to the president of the condom company.
Okay, you know what? Maybe I should come back. Okay.
Yeah, I'll press 1. Oh my God, what happened to the door?
So it's noticeable, huh?
Look, is Rachel here? I really need to talk to her.
Didn't you two already talk?
Yeah, but... Okay, look. You guys know that Rachel and I slept together, but there's something else. Rachel's pregnant.
Oh my God, I can't believe
it! With my child.
That is brand new information!
You already know, don't you?
A little bit.
How you doing?
Okay. I mean, I'll be okay. It's just I don't think I handled it very well.
Well, what'd you say to her?
Nothing. But the complaint department at the condom company got an earful. And then when I turned around, she was gone.
Oh, Ross.
Yeah, I know. But hey, in my defense, I just found out that condoms are only like 97% effective.
What?
I gotta go find her.
Oh, hey, hold on. Are you serious? So you do like 3% of the time? They don't even work? Huh? They should put that on the box.
Evidently, they do.
What?
Ah.
So in Rebecca's study, they had the participants who were teens watch this episode of Friends, and they were unaware of what the study was about. They were just told to watch the episode. Only difference is that they watched the entire episode, not just a scene. And they were called back around 6 weeks later and some a few months later and asked questions about what they remembered. So as we saw in this scene, Rachel tells Ross about the pregnancy for the first time, and Ross responds, "But we used a condom." And basically the entire episode focuses on how condoms are only 97% effective and how condom failure is possible. It shows that a lot of people aren't aware about the 3% that is not effective, as shown with Ross and Joey, both acting surprised, not knowing at all that it was possible. So when the participants were called back, 64% recalled seeing the episode where Rachel tells Ross that she is pregnant. And 32% remembered that the episode described Ross and Rachel as having used a condom when they had sex. According to the study, from 10% to 17% of viewers said that they had learned something new about condoms from the episode, which shows that a lot of people actually weren't aware about the 3% failure. And half of the teens from the groups rated the effectiveness of condoms differently than they had in the TAS survey 6 months before. So this shows that a lot of people didn't even know the exact percentage of how effective they were. A lot of them thought that they were 100% effective and then were taught differently from this episode. And 40% of those who reported watching the episode said that they watched with an adult, and 16 to 24% talked about the episode, 10% talked with an adult about the pregnancy, and 10% talked with an adult about condom effectiveness because of this episode. So just further shows that, just as I mentioned before, shows like these do serve as a gateway for parents to make it easier to talk to their kids about these situations. So the study showed that it is possible to deliver healthy messages to a large audience through entertainment. They also indicate a potential for influencing health-related awareness, knowledge, and beliefs in this manner. The article explores these positive opportunities for sex education via the entertainment media by studying the impact of one episode of the sitcom Friends that contained information about sexual risk. The episode of Friends is only one of many shows that educates viewers on possible risks and outcomes of sex. So as shown by the study, they just saw one episode and learned so much. So imagine how many different shows there are and how many healthy messages they're sending out. So with that being said, even more so today, a lot of shows are being made with the sole purpose of being educational for the younger crowd. We have shows such as Big Mouth and Sex Education on Netflix, which is a very big platform. They were created to help answer questions of teenagers about things happening to their body and questions about sex that are not widely talked about. So many people might not have their parents to talk to them about these things, or their parents might not feel comfortable talking to them about these topics. So these shows were created for that purpose. So in an article by Polly Seid, she interviews some teens that have watched the show Sex Education and basically questioned how they felt with the show. And there was a 16-year-old who said that the show answered a lot of her weird questions about sex. She loves that they discuss actual sex itself, something that many worry about but are too embarrassed to ask about. She actually mentions further in the article how even in her sex education classes, her teacher is too afraid to even say the word vagina. So in both Big Mouth and Sex Education, equal attention is given to characters who are diverse in race, sexuality, gender, and
Are you there?
that was it for that slide.
Okay, my bad. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our concluding thoughts about both of the articles. So it's important to note that most of this is our opinion, not the opinion of the researchers. So when the risk and responsibility are addressed in the content, positive effects may follow. When sexual content involves sexual behaviors and intercourse without addressing the risks, negative outcomes may follow. It's also important to have an adult person that helps adolescents to further understand the material that is being presented to them. So parents can make their own judgment about how much sexual content is appropriate for their own child. These studies may also provide the opportunity for parents and children to start an open dialogue about topics such as sex, safe sex, virginity, and love.
So even if television were to disappear, teenagers are still bound to get pregnant. They're still going to be having sex. So it's better to use television as a tool to help educate the teenagers on topics that some parents do not feel comfortable discussing with their kids. Television should be used as a tool to start having these conversations, but not as a sole educator as well, since everything on television isn't always 100% accurate.
And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we look forward to interacting with you on the discussion board.